Hi guys, today's short tutorial is going to show you how to use Excel to make a line graph. Let's say that we did an experiment where we looked at the activity of catalase over time and we did it at 3 different temperatures, 0 degrees, 25 degrees, and 100 degrees Celsius. So on our x-axis, that is where we have our independent variable. And in this case, our independent variable is going to be time. So that's the first thing we want to write down. Let's say that in this experiment, we were looking at the production of oxygen, which was measured in terms of bubble height, and we took measurements every 20 seconds for 3 minutes. So this column is representing our values found on our x-axis. Now we need to enter the values found on our y-axis. So we did our assay at 0, 25, and 100 degrees Celsius, and we want to put all 3 results onto the same graph. You need to input the y values in the right-hand columns next to the x values. So let's start with 0 degrees. Let's say that at 20 seconds, we had a bubble height of 3.5. At 40 seconds, we had a bubble height of 4, and so on. Now in the column next to this, we can put our next set of data, let's say for the 25 degrees Celsius. Let's say that we started off with a bubble height of 4, and then it increased from there. And then next to this column, we can put our final set of data for the 100 degrees Celsius. And let's say that at 100 degrees Celsius, we had no enzyme activity, so the values were 0. Now that we've inputted the data, we can go ahead and produce our graph. Select all the data points. We're not going to select this top row. This was just for us to know what our data values were representing. We then go to Insert, and we click on this little one with the dots over here, the scatter plot, and we click on this first one. Now you can see we have all 3 sets of data on the same graph. The next thing we're going to want to do is add lines to these data sets so that our graph is clearly visible. To do that, we're going to right-click on a data point, Format Data Series, and then you come to this little bucket over here where it says Line, and you put in Solid Line. We can change the color of that line to match our data points. And we'll do this for all 3 sets of data. So in the case of our 100 degrees Celsius, it's sitting down here on the axis, which can make it a little bit difficult to see. So I'm going to change the color of the marker itself. So in this case, when you click on the marker, you come up here to the bucket and you click on marker on this side. And you can see that we have a fill option. I'm going to click solid fill, and now I'm able to select the color I want, and in this case I'm selecting purple. If you wish not to use color to distinguish between your 3 different graphs, you can also change the shape of your marker. So in this case, what you would do is you'd once again click on a data point, come up here, click on marker, and then click on marker options. Now you can see if we go to built-in, we have a number of different shapes that we're able to choose from. Let's say we click on the triangle. The triangle looks really small, so you can also increase the size of that triangle to make it more clearly visible. For today's case, I'm just going to leave all the data points as circles. All right, the next thing we're going to want to do is add axis titles. So to make space for our axis titles, let's make the graph itself a little bit smaller inside this box. Now what we do is we go to Chart Design, Add Chart Element, and over here if we go to Axis Titles, we see we have a primary horizontal axis title as well as a primary vertical axis title. Let's start with this horizontal title. In this case, our horizontal axis or x-axis is dealing with time. Remember to put the units for your axis. So in this case, we're dealing in seconds. Now we have our x-axis title. Let's do the same for the y-axis. On our y-axis, in this case, let's say we measured bubble height, and it was in centimeters. The next thing we're going to want to do is change the key so that it's easy for people looking at the graph to see what each line is representing. In order to do that, right-click on the key and go to Select Data. Let's start with Series 1. Click on Series 1 and click on Edit. If you've forgotten what Series 1 is representing, just click on this Series Y values and it'll highlight it over here for you. So you can see that our Series 1 is for our 0 degrees Celsius. So up here in Series Name, we can change that to 0 degrees Celsius. then click OK. And we can do this for Series 2 and Series 3 as well. Once you've changed all the names, hit OK, and you can see that it's changed it on your graph for you. The next thing you want to do is deal with your chart title. Now for this, you want to place the chart title below the figure. So let's just move our key out the way for now and bring the chart title down. If you're placing more than one figure into your report, you need to label your figures numerically. So let's say this is the first figure going into the report, and we'll call this one figure 1. And we also need to give the figure a descriptive heading so that someone looking at the graph knows what the data is representing and what the experiment was about. So in this case, let's say that our title was the effect of temperature on catalase activity. The last thing we need to format is just our series key. I'm going to adjust it so that the key is vertical instead of horizontal. And now I'm going to move it to the right-hand side of my figure. I'm just going to decrease my figure size so that we have space. The last thing we need to do is transfer this graph into our report in a Word document. Right-click on the figure, press Copy, move to your Word document, and click on Paste. And there you go. It's in your Word document. You may want to format it and just remove that shape outline so that it flows better in your report and looks a little neater. But there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful and that it makes your report writing a little bit easier.